It's my pleasure today, once again, to have the opportunity to collaborate with Miles Calvert from IEA, and as well as the Dean's Office for helping make this happen today. Today's guest is Taro Takizawa, an artist who focuses on printmaking, as well as wall vinyl installations, drawings, and 2D designs. Born in Japan, he has been making images connecting with what he's experienced growing up there to those he has experienced in the US. His works contain both Western and Eastern aesthetics, with appreciation of traditional printmaking processes and mark making. He is fascinated with blending the traditional printmaking process, with blending the boundaries of contemporary studio practice and traditional processes. He is influenced by traditional Japanese patterns from textile designs, architecture, and crafts. Taro received his BFA with a printmaking emphasis from Central Michigan University in 2011, and an MFA in printmaking from Syracuse University, College of Visual and Performing Arts in 2017. He has exhibited nationally and internationally at Fowler Kellogg Art Center, Paradox European Fine Art Program, or Fine Art Forum, and its exhibition at CK Zamek in Poznan, Poland. Art Prize 10 at Grand Rapids Public Museum, Lux Center for the Arts, and China Printmaking Museum. And recently he's been a resident artist at Saltonstall Foundation for the Arts in Ithaca, New York, Morgan Conservatory in Cleveland, Ohio, and Goggle Works in Reading, Pennsylvania. Taro is currently at UNC Wilmington in North Carolina. And Taro, there you are. Just very, very happy that you're here today. Please join me in welcoming Taro Takizawa.
Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Taro Takizawa, pronoun he, him. Thank you again for Miles from IEA, Lauren from the Dean's Office, and then it's great to be here at Alfred University. I have a lot of artist friends who've been through this program, so it's an honor for me to actually be on this campus and check out your facilities and work in here. As mentioned, I'm an assistant professor of art at University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I just started this position last fall. It's my second semester. I'm having a great time. And, oh, this is older. I wanted to start with this studio shot as a reminder. For me personally, this is from a short residency at Almont School of Art and Craft there, where I was experimenting stuff with paper folding technique and working on some printed materials. Like these are my blends that I printed on. And I want to revisit this hopefully soon when I get some chance. I'm kind of like busy with teaching and other stuff in a new location, but again, born and raised in Japan. This is my hometown, Mirodan, in Hokkaido, Japan. Hokkaido is a northern island in Japan. It's like a heavy industrial city with two steel industries, steel manufacturer, and also oil refinery, which I just happened to find out that they just closed recently. But the Bay Area, the inner Bay Area is all like, manufacturers, and the outer area is kind of like cliffs and small beaches and small ports. My high school is in this photo, although you cannot see it, but it's on the left top corner at the tip of the peninsula. Took me about 45 minutes, 1 hour to commute. Sometimes I use that bridge, if you can see, connecting the peninsula to the mainland. This is some photos of me and my siblings. I grew up in this family, which is considered pretty unique in Japan or Japanese standards. With me, two of my brothers were adopted from different places because my parents, I guess we're having a hard time getting kids when they were kind of like starting off. And then after that, they got their own kids, which is my three sisters, biological kids from them. And then my mom's from Michigan. So this is like a mix of like international family slash like a hodgepodge of like, guys from like different places and then girls from my parents. But this is how I grew up. little exposure to art. I was always drawing as a kid. That was whenever I wanted to like be myself, that's what I did all the time. And I played outside a lot with my friends as well. I moved to the US to pursue my academic career. I went to, again, Central Michigan. My undergraduate degree, emphasis in print. Then I moved to Chicago because when I lived in Michigan, that sort of became my dream city to move into. And so I just did that. I worked in the regular office job, logistics industry, a bit of, I don't know, a really high pace because I was in air import department, if you care to know. And then on the side, I would go to Little Street Art Center to work on clay or Anchor Graphics to do some printing, but really, really busy life. But it was great for me to have this like a professional experience also, as well as real life check. So to see if I would actually want to get back into arts or not. And then I did, I went to SIC's National Portfolio Day and I met my graduate school mentor there. And I ended up applying to Syracuse University and getting in, and I moved to Syracuse. And now here in Wilmington, North Carolina, it's actually really, really warm down there. I was not expecting getting snow, but this winter, earlier this year, we actually got snow. So I was kind of surprised, but it's really, really different kind of climate. Really humid and warm. I see students wearing shorts like these days because like we're getting like 60s and 70 degrees. So this is like a rare occasion. I'm gonna talk about my practice now. My current practice is based on printmaking and occasional wall vinyl installations and murals whenever I get an opportunity or commission. Since undergrad, I think I had this desire. I was interested in working in large scale, as well as like learning the printmaking processes. I was also thinking kind of like, how can I go bigger in print medium? Because printmaking, if you know, there are some multiple limitations based on materials, processes, and equipment. And what was it? Oh, and then a lot of the details of each slide or each image it's usually posted on the bottom if you can see it. This particular slides, the vinyl in this piece was showing a group show in Chicago. I was invited back after living there. I made a couple artist friends and they were kind enough to invite me back to show with them, which was super cool. There are ways to like incorporate printmaking to do a large scale work, large scale installations, but I was kind of like more focused on carrying my mark making I used in prints to do a large scale work. And after discovering wall vinyl, it was recommended by one of my mentor in grad school that you should check this out. And it became my favorite choice of material to use for this kind of like large scale work because it's like very versatile, relatively affordable. It sticks to a lot of different surfaces. And for me, it's like relatively easy to work with. So to carry my, like, because in printmaking, I was already doing a lot of carvings, cuttings, that kind of stuff. So it was almost instantaneous to start working on vinyl, and I realized I was like, okay, this is working for me. This is it. So I've been working with vinyl for almost 10 years or so right now. Here's a little chapter or short writing from my artist statement. My work is an intuitive process of making patterns by drawing, painting, carving, cutting, and printing. I'm constantly mentally engaged with how I want to move on the surface when I'm working on, or like whichever surface I'm working on. I look for formal reactions, ideas between the contemporary and personal history, perspective, Japanese heritage, and permanent memory. This is another vinyl installation in New York City, which was curated by Marcelo Vera and Chari Shi, both Philadelphia-based artists and printmakers. And this was a group exhibition during IPDA print week or print fair in New York City. That's the inside of the gallery. My work is about my fascination with water, its ripples and reflections. I'm recreating my emotional reactions to how water seems to flow freely and continuously by using recursive printmaking processes and mark making techniques to imitate the movement. Here are some of my undergrad work from Central Michigan. I was doing a lot of relief printings and to be specific, a lot of reductive relief printings. First, I wanted to get into the BFA, graphic design BFA program. And after taking foundation classes, drawings and paintings, my painting advisor told me to take a print class because in his ideas, it was like an old school graphic design. And I quickly realized that it was a lot more challenging than drawing and painting, which was for me pretty straightforward application, put the pigments, paint, drawing material on the surface. Whereas printmaking, I have to go through these like multiple complex steps in order to get to a finish line. And I remember I really not liking it the first few projects, and it took me a whole semester to actually get to a point that, oh, I get it now. And that's when I became obsessed and became really hooked with printmaking, and then I decided to go into a studio art major with print emphasis. During undergrad, I was more focused on showing my, I guess, like Japanese heritage, my culture, history. Because a lot of people around me, and I will remind you, just like when we didn't have a ton of social media in the middle of nowhere, Michigan. So people were asking me like what it's like living in Japan and all these questions. So I sort of like use that as a prompt and start making prints about my culture. Later, I shifted to focus a little more on about my personal memories, depicting the daily life from my childhood. So this is like a scene based on a photograph in front of in my neighborhood. My house that I grew up is a half silhouette on the left side. And then daily life scenes were also common themes in ukiyo-e, which is like a traditional Japanese woodblock prints as well. So I was kind of like making the connections. I remember this particular print I made while finishing up my BFA program when my country was struck with magnitude 9.0 at 2:14 p.m. local time, and the waves that may have reached up to 133 feet, traveled 435 miles per hour and up to 6 miles inland. I'm talking about this, what was it? 311 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami disaster in Japan in 2011. I just remember seeing all these footage on YouTube, all the rubbles, people running away from the waves, water, getting up to the highlands. It just really stuck with me. And I was kind of like trying to figure out what I could do because I was in Japan, not in Japan, like far away from my country. And I think I was like trying to, what's the right word? Instead of just like donating money, like what else I could do as an artist. So I made a print about it. Some of my early influences as an undergrad, Hokusai, Kiyoshige, Utamaro, other Japanese print masters. This is when I start getting into the color palettes, borrowing from these old Japanese prints, as well as getting into the blend technique. I start using a lot of blends in my undergrad, and throughout my career now, I still use it. In the traditional Japanese technique, it's called bokashi. And I think I was like really fascinated by some of the blue blends they were doing. And this is also when I became aware of the term or idea of Japanese aesthetics, how they were sort of like formed during Sakoku period, which is like a Japanese policy during the Edo period over 200 some years. The country has been like very limited to external contact. And because of the external contact was like super limited, the idea is like we sort of like saturated our crafts, visuals, aesthetics. And I wanted to emphasize that idea in my work that I was bringing and visualizing that's what's unique to me and who I am and who I am as a non-domestic student studying in the US. Some other influences are minimalism, post-painterly abstractions. Coincidentally, Silhouette also went to the same school where I finished my grad school at Syracuse University. If you have a chance, y'all, well, it's not too far from here. Like, have you ever been to Mass Mocha? Some people. It's a worth the trip because like they have an entire building dedicated for Silhouette's drawings, wall drawings. So like that's one of my favorite places to go around here. That's me. Doho Sa, another influence for me. I think his installation really made me think about memory and the ways we can document or archive it as an art form. Jun Kaneko made me think about scale in relationship with these surroundings because Kaneko's monumental ceramics sculptures are often public installations. And I'm also always influenced by some of my artist friends, printmakers, non-printmakers. Grad school work. This is my first year, first semester, making these series of prints. I kind of like came into grad school like really thirsty because I didn't have a dedicated studio space. So it was like a dream to have my space to like create works. So I kind of like went nuts and like did a lot of printing. In the first semester, like we had the graduate students as a whole, we had an opportunity to show as a group in a local venue, and all my fellow grad students, friends, they all wanted wall spaces, and there were a lot of these like floor spaces that I could utilize. So I already had like an idea to do like a floor installation for a while. So I decided, okay, this is the opportunity for me to do something on the floor. And this is the kind of like the mock outcome after a few experiments with different materials. I used contact paper, which is like a transparent adhesive paper, to do essentially make a DIY sticker out of my prints and put it on the floor. This is my third wall vinyl installation in grad school, kind of like getting hang of the material, how I wanted to work on the surface. This is me. Here's another paragraph from my artist statement. The patterns on the installation works and prints are forever repeating patterns in my head. And the process of creating these images are also forever repeating process of drawing, cutting, carving, and printing. And I always forget to mention, so I'll try to talk about it here, but usually how the process or the steps I do is I'll wrap the entire surface with vinyl where I'm doing my installation and cut the lines with a regular box cutter blade, line by line, and peel off each lines one at a time. So it's kind of like I wouldn't call it meditating, but it's like this like really slow process of like repetition. This is probably the biggest vinyl installation that I did as a grad student in the main campus art building. And while I was doing vinyl stuff, I was always printing in the studio as well. And I did this wall installation, print installation, consisting of all the misprints, old prints, because I was making a lot of, I would say like not so great prints, and they were just accumulating, and I just wanted to recycle them and turn it into a new work. This is the shot of where I was kind of like figuring out the layout on the floor, because I had an opportunity to show this same piece a few years later. So I had to like cut more prints and this discs and like ship it out to turn it into installation here. This was in Eastern Connecticut State University, 2019. I didn't have to do the install, which was great because, or I don't know, not so great for the gallery person, people who have to do the install, but they did an amazing job. So I was happy to see this at the opening reception when I visited and did an artist talk. Here are some steamroller prints, large scale prints where we cannot really print in the studio based on, or depending on the equipment you have. So steamroller, literally the construction vehicle, we run it over the blocks we carve with usually a fabric on top, sometimes paper. It's like a really, really fun event, all hands on deck. I'm actually doing one right after this travel ends this Saturday back at my school. Like, so I have to like be there and do this fun printing event once I get back to North Carolina. Again, it's an amazing experience for me to get to work with students or other artists like side to side and create all these like collaborative work. Another steamroller print, vinyl piece. This one was unique for me because I had to digitize it and turn it into a vector file. Actually use a vinyl cutter, vinyl plotter, and ship it out to UK. This went to Leeds, UK. We had like an exchange exhibition between their art school and my art school in Syracuse. So it was an interesting or really, really good experience for me to work with the digital fabrication lab in the tech at my school, kind of like a collaborative work. And a lot of times my vinyl piece, because they're ephemeral, they have to come down at the end of the show, or as a material, they have a breaking point, which I don't know exactly when. So anyways, like I have to, I guess most of the time I use printmaking as a tool to hold on to some of the designs that I like. This is another wall piece I've done doing a residency in San Pedro, LA, or California. This was a semester-long residency from my graduate program. And because they didn't have any printmaking facility at the location that we were settled in, I was doing a lot of vinyl installations and also trying to make studio practice out of drawing and kind of like using these ink drawings. So these are some large scale ink drawings. 96 by 36 inches, 96 inches tall. And these are triptychs, so pretty big. And the reason I was exploring drawing was not only because I didn't have access to a print studio, but also for the future opportunities such as residencies. If there are like really amazing residencies out there where they don't have a print facility, I still can go and do stuff. And I just wanted to create a studio practice where I could actually do stuff when I get that kind of opportunity. Oh geez, I have to speed up. This is my first gig after graduating from Syracuse University. I got a fellowship and a grant, Living Arts of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Another vinyl installation at Art Prize. This is like a now biannual art festival in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And this is the first time installing on a window. And this really changed my, I guess, idea about vinyl installation because I've been working on regular gallery walls, and this now I can see it from the inside, see it from the outside, and the piece changes throughout the day, throughout the season, depending on the light, how you see it. And it kind of like became, I don't know, more like I'm favoring more vinyl installations on windows and glass because of this aspect. This is my first mural using paint markers. It was commissioned from my university where I was adjuncting at Syracuse because they decided to hire me after graduating, which was great. And then they were doing this beautification project in my art building. So they commissioned me to do this. And I had to figure out non-vinyl work because it has to be permanent. And I messed around with like paint markers and did this wall drawings. When you do something for the first time, such as this wall drawing for me, it's a little scary, exciting as well. Part of me knew I can pull this off, but there's always a risk, right? I think about keeping myself busy and prepared myself all the time so that I can say, well, I can be ready for these kind of like opportunities when they kind of like pops up out of nowhere. My first residency out of grad school at Saltland Style Foundation for the Arts. This is for New York State resident only. So if y'all in the future out of school, you can apply for this one. It's like a really nice rural in the woods kind of a residency, really blank studio space. And this is where I brought back my drawing practice and did a lot of large scale drawings. Just like simple stuff, like because I enjoy doing repetitive like line works. I just work with a bunch of graphite sticks. This is one of the photo I took during the residency, which later and back in the studio I turned it into a print, relief prints. Some different body of work etchings. These are copper plate etchings. As a printmaker, I'm always interested in the moment when I peel off the prints, where there's like a split moment of this symmetrical image that's showing off from the printing press or mirrored image. And I was kind of like fascinated by it secretly. I just didn't know until I met Koichi Yamamoto, who's a University of Tennessee Knoxville print faculty. He showed me this technique of printing on one side, folding it over, and printing the image on the other side to make this a mirrored image. So I did a lot of those during my another residency in Morgan Conservatory in Cleveland, Ohio. So this is only like a couple of prints, but I have like a lot. I made a lot of those. Here are different body of works, all stone lithographs. I kind of like enjoy the idea of going back and forth, changing mediums, changing techniques to play with the same idea. So these are all drawing on stones with mostly, what do you call, tush, which is like a oil-based drawing fluid that we use in lithography. And my practice in my studio a lot of times is once I find something that's like interesting to me, I become really, really obsessed with it, whether it's a material or a technique. And I tend to build a body of work out of my obsession. And by the time I sort of like get enough of that excitement out of me, then I usually have a next idea or multiple ideas brewing in my head. So that's how I kind of like keep going on my studio practice. This was a big mural commission for South City Market in downtown Syracuse. They asked me to do 2 walls. This was amazing because, again, a different learning experience in this kind of scale with wall drawings. And it was nice to work with the management team and the construction team because they were still working on the building while I was painting or drawing on the wall. Here are some relief prints uh, that I made through my during my summer residency at Goggle Works in Pennsylvania. When I go to your residency, there's a lot of challenges because the studio is usually not essentially the same, like nothing what you're used to. So you have to but quickly adjust to the environment and start making work because residency, you have limited time. But it's also really, really exciting because like that's the moment I try to take risk and try something very new to me. So I will do something different. Sometimes I'll start with like something that I'm more familiar with. But for this piece, for example, I drew this cast shadow in the studio and then turned it into a relief print. But also I was trying different techniques or in materials. This is where I tried you doing prints using chipboard. Chipboard is this packaging material, like a cereal box material, like thin cardboard. And I use that material to make this low relief plates and print these as relief prints. And this really turned out to be really, really great for me because the material is super cheap and it's also 100% recycled material. I was becoming a little more aware of the waste that I'm creating in my practice. As an individual, I'm not creating a ton of waste comparing to a manufacturer or corporate kind of industrial waste, but I was a little more conscious about, what kind of waste that I was making. And this practice became more like, became my core practice and material that I've been using until now. Like I'm still using it and I really enjoy using this material again because it's also very affordable, which means I can spend more money on nicer paper. So I've been using some high quality Japanese paper these days. Some of my bigger prints at a different residency, Lawrence Art Center. This is like a Lawrence Art Center. It's a 1-year residency in Lawrence, Kansas. They take ceramic artists and print artists every year, fully funded, place to live and everything. This was great because I had this like a little hiatus. I was outside the country in Denmark for 1 year and came back to the US for this residency. And I've been out of academia for like 4 year at that moment. And it was great for me to kind of like come back, do work in the studio, minimum amount of responsibility. I had to teach a community art class. But other than that, I was just like making work in the studio. Another vinyl piece at the Lawrence Art Center when I was doing a residency over there. Sketchiest lift that I ever operated in, but I made it work. One of the local business also asked me to do a vinyl installation on their cafeteria window, which was also great. This person or this business didn't have a ton of budget, but they gave me store credits. So I got nice coffee and pastries for like 2 days, which was also great. This is a photo my friend sent me after I finished this, after I left the town, once I was done with the residency. You see how this light coming through is all the pattern cast on the wall. This is like also really, I don't know, for me, it's like a fun part. And when I'm installing, I usually don't get to see this part because I'm outside installing. It was really nice to see this photo sent from my friend who teaches at University of Kansas. The Lawrence Art residency came with a solo exhibition at the end of the residency. So this couple shots from my residency solo exhibition. And this is my most recent vinyl installation at Austin Peay State University in Tennessee last fall. Some of my more recent relief prints that I've done in the studio. And from here, I just have a couple more slides about what I like about being an artist and being in this community. Um, Most of the time, our studio practice is like solitary experience. Maybe not if you're a student because you have your studio mates around, friends around the studio. Um, I don't have a collaborator. I usually work solo, so I do everything on my own. So these kind of opportunities, this slides and the next multiple slides, had the amazing opportunity to work with others in the way that really brought a lot of joy to my artist career. So this is like a steamroller printing event in Chautauqua Institute, another steamroller printing in my university in Syracuse University. Wood fire workshop at Pratt MWP, which is in Utica, New York. They do the summer workshops. I work with clay a little bit, nothing fancy comparing to my 2D work. I'm still learning, but I really enjoy working with clay. Panel discussion in my printmaking conference. Another big wood fire with University of Kansas undergrad and grads and local artists from the Arts Center. This is doing my residency in Kansas. This was great for me to get to meet and work with ceramic students in University of Kansas, like side by side, because we worked whole semester from chopping wood, making work, and then the firing. Loads of fun. This is Twiggy, which is the other resident artist during my residency in Lawrence Art Center. We co-taught a class called Print and Clay. So screen printing on clay body. Oh, that was it. I really enjoy this moment where what should I say? Again, like artists, like even though we're in a different discipline, we speak the same language. I feel like it's really, really welcoming. I usually reach out to artists and have some questions, and they're really happy to share what they're doing and give me tips about things. For the printmaking conference, for example, it's like I feel like I belong there. These are amazing feelings, and sort of like helps me motivate me to stay in this industry, keep productive in my studio. Because again, like I like this idea about helping each other in the art community, art world. So I think that's all I have to say in my talk. Thank you so much.